Happy Hump Day, Colts Nation. Yesterday, I put out a video talking about elevating KJ Hamler, and it seems like that might be something. It's not going to happen pretty much as soon as I uploaded that video. News came out about how the Colts have signed Amari Rodgers to the 53-man roster, so he is the fifth wide receiver on the 53-man roster. It'll be interesting to see how the Colts decide to go forward from here. Do they at some point elevate guys and have a sixth receiver? Or right now, currently, see what happened was Amari Rodgers gets signed to the 53-man roster. Dallas Flowers goes on IR, and then they sign cornerback Darren Hall to the practice squad. So at the current moment, there's still a space on the active roster. Gotta assume that's for JT, but when they activate JT, you would assume that they put down Jake Funk back onto a practice squad. But interesting moves, man. Interesting moves. I'd like to know how you guys feel about Amari Rodgers being the fifth receiver on the roster this season. Something that personally I like. I thought he looked good in the preseason. With the ball in his hands, I think he has a special teams utility, right? And I mean, Isaiah McKenzie dropped a screen pass on Sunday. So, like, if Amari Rodgers can get in there and be more effective than Isaiah McKenzie, both on the offensive reps and on special teams, and yeah, I'm all for it. He was a guy that I thought should have made this team coming out of the preseason. So I like Amari Rodgers on the active roster. Be interesting to see what happens with KJ Hamler this year. I wonder if all the injuries have taken their toll, and that's why we're not going to see him come up off the practice squad. But again, he's an exciting playmaker, and he's just chilling there on our practice squad. I hope that at some point we can make use of him. But again, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Now, something else I wanted to talk with you guys about was Anthony Richardson, right? We've watched the tape. We know that Anthony Richardson is that dude, right? Like, Anthony Richardson is just different. We have an alien at quarterback right now. And it seems like a lot of people are starting to come over into the camp, right? Like, there are a lot of people, well, some people, I won't say a lot of people. There's still people out there that'll tell you that Anthony Richardson's not it, right? There was a graph that came out about Anthony Richardson being the worst quarterback in the league and whatnot, right? And the pure passing stats, right, and the efficiency stats aren't great. But if you look at what Anthony Richardson does and everything that Anthony Richardson does for this team when he's in the game, right? Like he himself is responsible for 7 touchdowns in 9 quarters. Like the efficiency from that aspect is great, right? But you look at what some of the Rams had to say about Anthony Richardson after that game. First, you look at Coach Sean McVay, who has his own little show, his own podcast, and on the Sean McVay show, he was talking about Aaron Donald, and while he was talking about Aaron Donald, kind of mentioned Anthony Richardson, and what he had to say was, right here talking about Aaron Donald, he was talking about and how Anthony Richardson is getting away, being able to get away from a guy like Aaron Donald. He said, quote, "A freaking stud in Anthony Richardson. That guy's a problem. I think Shane Steichen and those guys do an excellent job." So not only is he giving praise to Anthony Richardson, he's giving praise to Shane Steichen and the job that they're doing with the young guy. And that's high praise from one of the best offensive minds in the league, right? A coach that's been to 2 Super Bowls and won a Super Bowl. So for him to come out and say that after the game, right? This is day after the game, 2 days after the game, something like that. And for him to come out and say that, it's very high praise, right? Then you look at Matthew Stafford, Super Bowl winning quarterback, a guy that's probably going to end up in the Hall of Fame. What Stafford had to say was, "Holy cow, he's as talented as they come, man. That is impressive. Made some throws in the pocket and outside the pocket. Runs great too. The sky's the limit, and I'm just happy for his success." So, of course, after the game, Matthew Stafford, not the kind of guy that's going to come out and take shots, right? He's asked about Anthony Richardson. He gives Anthony Richardson some praise. But early on, this is a situation where Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay could have come out and said, he did a lot of good things, but there's clearly some work to do and this and that. That's how it normally goes with these rookie quarterbacks. Both these guys giving Anthony Richardson a lot of high praise coming out of that game. And Dan Orlovsky, who some people like him, some people don't. I'm a Dan Orlovsky fan. I watch the Pat McAfee show, so I tend to like Dan Orlovsky. And he was on the Pat McAfee show yesterday when he said, quote, "The accuracy is all over Anthony Richardson's tape. He's a special talent, and he's going to the right place on a consistent basis with the football. And that there, like if you go through the Anthony Richardson tape, that's what you're going to find is good decisions from a running quarterback. And those are decisions that I didn't think Anthony Richardson would be making early on. I thought we'd see him make the simple mistakes early on in this season. So far, for the most part, he's going to the right place with the ball. You know, he's a little safer than you might want, right? There are definitely times on film where there's somebody running by themselves downfield, and Anthony Richardson just doesn't see him. He's looking for the safer throws, and that's okay. At some point, being able to have those downfield throws, those will come. Okay, he'll start to learn what the defenses are doing, but right now he's taking what the defense gives him, and that's great for a young quarterback. So all this praise coming in for Anthony Richardson is great, and I think it's deserving. Right, we have a young guy who's still learning, a young guy who's got a lot to learn, but has looked much better than any of us could have ever imagined this early on. Right now, one stat that is sitting there for Anthony Richardson is not his fault, right? He has right around a 56% completion percentage this season, I think it is. And he also has a 15% drop rate on accurate passes. Okay, we know he can miss high. I mean, those are tough balls to catch, but sometimes those still hit guys in the hands and they're not being caught. Okay, and sometimes they're not coming in too hot and they're still not being caught. All right, Anthony Richardson, if there's one thing he's shown, especially in the Rams game, and if you look at just the Rams game, his ability to throw the back shoulder, whether it's low and away or high and tight, Anthony Richardson can throw the back shoulder with anybody in the league. He threw some very impressive balls against the Rams, like passes that if Mahomes is making those passes and they're being caught by his receivers, like people are going crazy on Twitter about how Patrick Mahomes is throwing the ball, right? So there was a couple to Granson. There was the one to Michael Pittman in the back of the end zone. Like there are a couple throws that come to mind right away. Now, if those were caught, people would have went nuts with how good Anthony Richardson is throwing the ball. But unfortunately, those were either dropped or not even touched, right? The one Michael Pittman Jr., that one, watching back the film, there was a hand across the face. Should have been a penalty right there. Makes complete sense why Pittman was unable to locate that ball. But all in all, Anthony Richardson been really good, right? If you're just stat watching, it's not going to tell the full story. But if you're actually watching the games and you're seeing the things that Anthony Richardson is doing and the importance that he has to the Colts, like his ability to avoid pressure that quarterbacks we've had in the past would have definitely not been able to avoid. Like he can make so many plays, right? The 2-point conversion to Zach Moss doesn't happen if we don't have Anthony Richardson. He's one of the only quarterbacks in the NFL that's going to be able to get away from Aaron Donald. Had Aaron Donald's hand on him, got away from Aaron Donald, stumbled, but got himself back upright and was able to get out of the pocket enough and be able to flick that ball out, knowing he was about to get hit. So Anthony Richardson's been great so far. The fact that there's still room to grow is a lot to be excited about. The fact that he's going to continue to get better is a lot to be excited about. Anthony Richardson's going to be crazy in the NFL, and he's already been really good. Again, 7 touchdowns in 9 quarters of play for Anthony Richardson. So really like what I see so far. It seems like a lot of people throughout NFL and through ESPN, stuff like that, different teams, a lot of people taking notice of Anthony Richardson and being impressed with Anthony Richardson. It feels good to know that we got a guy. Okay, we just need to get those pass catchers figured out, right? Which is where we started this video. Amari Rodgers on the active roster. KJ Hamler, we'll see what happens there. We'll see what happens with Isaiah McKenzie. I feel like Amari Rodgers being called up might mean that something is coming for Isaiah McKenzie if he's not somebody who can step up in some way at some point, especially this upcoming week against the Titans, right? The Colts need to get a win at home. They've lost 7 straight games at home, so we need to get one at home for the home fans. Anthony Richardson needs to get his first win in Lucas Oil Stadium. It has to happen this week against the Titans. All right, so far this year, the Titans 0-2 on the road, Colts 0-2 at home. Something's got to give, and it needs to be Anthony Richardson and the Colts winning at home. So with that, that's going to wrap this video up. I appreciate you guys stopping by. We're almost to 900 subscribers. If you're not one of the people that have subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Help us get up to 900. I do appreciate it. And with that said, as always, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and go Colts.